EmKay Archlink. I am the author of the book Unseen Powers and the TikToker Ninja Gal EmKay. Welcome to RAW-tism, a podcast about my autistic experience and my opinions on the world. On this podcast, I will be raw and unfiltered. You are always welcome to disagree with me as long as you do so respectfully and with no name calling. Any usage of the R slur will get you immediately blocked. For those of you who don't know, I am a full-time nanny. For 45 hours a week, I get paid $18 an hour to be screamed at by a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. Yet somehow, this is the best job I've ever had. In an earlier episode, I dive into my experience being a nanny and helping raise small children. So this week, I want to discuss some of the jobs I've had since I turned 16. In the last 8 years, I have had over 10 jobs. You heard that right. Having undiagnosed autism enabled me to jump around when I was younger. I had a tough time finding my first job. I applied to what seemed like a bajillion places before my first interview at Chipotle. I did not get hired, but my mom made a huge deal of my first interview on Facebook, which helped my confidence. My first job was at a resale shop in my hometown called Savers. This job was very stressful for me because of the overstimulating environment. The sound of hangers, multiple groups of people talking, and the beeping of the registers was just too much. I was constantly on edge, and it didn't help that the store manager was extremely pushy about wanting more availability from me and became verbally abusive when I asked for time off for school. In just under a year, I quit because I was consistently crying from the stress. Little did I know that the next job would be even worse. My second job was with East Coast Custard, a local frozen treat shop with cute snacks like pretzels and hot dogs. This was the shortest time I spent at a job before voluntarily quitting. There had been a few jobs where I couldn't make it through my first shift because of panic attacks, but they won't be included in today's episode. What drove me away from East Coast Custard was the lack of rule following among employees, and the manager did not attempt to solve it. Not even attempt. It was too lackadaisical for me, and they didn't follow health code standards. A few months after I quit, they overturned the management and are now a safe place to eat. But I can't go back without being reminded of the environment I was thrust into. I was hired at Panera Bread while already employed by East Coast Custard. My mom convinced me to still go to my scheduled interview for practice, even though I had already been hired at another company. And then Panera hired me on the spot. I loved their food, so I could not turn them down. It worked out in my favor. I stayed with Panera for nearly a year before quitting toward the end of my senior year. I had applied to be a cashier and was promised I would be trained in it over and over again, but I was stuck as a busser and dishwasher. The final straw was when they denied me time off for my last school musical as a senior in high school. That summer, I spent a month at Five Guys and loved it. But I had to quit because I kept coming home with cuts and burns on my hand. So I moved on to the Cleveland Metro Parks golf course. This job was a sitcom-level disaster. I got hives, trapped a golf cart on a curb somehow, and learned after I got my license that my temps did not qualify me to have been driving the golf carts. Whoops! My end of the year review labeled me very easily distracted, but a joy for the volunteers to have around. I was unsurprised when they did not hire me back the following summer. That's supposed to be the awkward button, but I don't feel like that came across. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you. Okay, let's continue. I got the job at Freshens on campus because the recruiter thought I had a beautiful smile. He was later fired for being inappropriate to some of the other staff members, so I take the fact that I got hired without an interview with a grain of salt. Sort of complimentary, but also creepy. This job led me to one of the most excellent store managers in the universe, Bobby! Bobby accepted me as I was and never let anyone give me shit for needing to take breaks when I got overstimulated. Freshens was the only job I'd had before my diagnosis where I was given accommodations for my panic attacks and allowed to chill until I was ready to get back out there. My coworkers were accepting for the most part. One guy didn't like me because I wouldn't keep my mouth shut about the fact that he stole and was constantly making out with his boyfriend over the counter. He tried to complain that I was homophobic to save his job, but that excuse didn't work, thankfully. It probably helped that when I reported him to management, I was crying because I felt so guilty for getting him in trouble. I needed a job in my hometown that following summer, so I worked at the local Macy's. It was fun doing odd jobs, and I did not purposefully quit. It was submitted that I was quitting when I went back to school instead of granting time off, so I accidentally lost that job. Entering another summer meant that I needed another summer job. I cried, full-on sobbing, when offered the job at Famous Footwear, the only store where I was comfortable getting shoes because they always had wide sizes available. I was so excited. Fortunately, I was only there a few weeks before the COVID-19 worldwide shutdown caused a company-wide layoff. I was down for quite a while, but it drove me to apply to Dunkin' Donuts down the street from my parents' house. That job was terrific for my confidence and helped me stop blindly interpreting my parents' opinions as facts. I am still in contact with some of the friends I made there. Freshens is connected to little convenience stores called Z's on my college campus. Knowing how much I loved stocking shelves and how I thrived in a calmer environment, my manager, the lovely Bobby, transferred me to Z's. She would plan deliveries to arrive on my shifts because I had a blast organizing them all. I usually completed my assignments within my shift, but if anything was left over for the next person, I would give them a step-by-step method to finish it quickly and easily. Things got done a lot better because of me, and I felt needed more than I did anywhere else at the time. Being allowed to do homework in the free moments didn't hurt my love for the job either. A good portion of my book, Unseen Powers, was written while working at Z's. The following summer, I was saving furiously for a car, so I worked 40 hours a week at Dunkin' and grabbed a hostess job at Olive Garden for another 10 hours a week. I overworked myself for a whole month until I was found hysterically sobbing in the Olive Garden bathroom. I was rocking back and forth while whispering, "The jazz is too loud, the jazz is too loud, the jazz is too loud," on repeat. I was sent home from that shift and later stopped by to personally extend my resignation. It was overstimulating. They understood, but were sad to see me go. My manager at Dunkin', however, was delighted that I left Olive Garden and finally gave myself time to rest. I still overworked myself, but at least she could dictate my hours and force me to take breaks while I was there. I'll forever be thankful to her for helping me learn work-life balance and standing up for myself. After signing the lease for my first apartment, my first non-campus job was at Edwin Shaw, a Cleveland Clinic inpatient rehabilitation hospital. I love being a receptionist there and still pick up shifts here or there when they need me. Feeling a spur of independence, I transferred from Edwin Shaw to NovaCare Rehabilitation for a full-time job with benefits. A little after I started working there, I got my autism diagnosis. This gave me the mental freedom to truly be myself. Unfortunately, the job I held with NovaCare was too much for me as I was nearing graduation, and I decided to transfer back to Edwin Shaw. I realized I would rather be in a calm environment on my parents' insurance than in a disorderly workplace for the benefits. I'm still friends with my coworkers from there, and I am glad that I tried it so that I could meet them. This was the point where I started my full-time job as a nanny. No one in my life was surprised when I decided to get a part-time job at Spirit Halloween this past year. I've always been a big fan of horror, thrillers, and everything related to Halloween and Dia de los Muertos, my favorite holiday. Before receiving my autism spectrum disorder diagnosis, this job would have ended with me quitting after a long shift that sent me to tears from overstimulation. Thankfully, I knew what accommodations I'd need, and management worked with me so I could hang out in the back and work primarily on backstock and fixing broken merchandise. I absolutely loved it and will definitely apply again when spooky season comes again. Ooh. Overall, these experiences formed me into the person I am today. So I am thankful for every moment, even the bad ones. There are things I wish the younger me had known, but that's all part of growing up. Regardless of your thoughts and feelings toward me, I love every one of you. You are wanted by many, loved by many, and so many want you to stay in this world. I am one of these manys and always will be. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you for listening to RAW-tism. If you'd like to support this podcast, the description includes links with referral codes to Circle's water bottles, Pair Eyewear's customizable glasses, and my favorite Amazon products. The transcript for this episode can be found at ninjagalmk.com/blog, which is also linked below. Would you like to see more of me? In that case, visit EmKayArchlink.com for links to my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. My book, Unseen Powers, is available in hardback, paperback, or digitally through Amazon. Remember to drink water, eat some nummies, and have your best life.